Welcome to the Abyssinian Syllabary, where we spell out Ethiopia in 33 characters. I'm Yves-Marie Stranger, your host and the compiler of these Abyssinian lives. Nota bene, while any resemblance to actual countries, past or present, and to historical figures is not purely coincidental, this is a work of fiction. For a primer on these Ethiopian characters, newcomers may start with the prologue by Manuel de Goes. To order the book or a poster of the Abyssinian Syllabary, visit Ethiopia.com. That's UTHIOPIA.com. Let us concern ourselves with our fat-tailed sheep, declared the master, and he appended, if the tail follows, everything will fall into place. The Apocrypha of Zareakob. Ha! Elsepath, the high priest of the moon, the omniscient, they once softly said in his wake, lies bitter and broken in the shade of one of the Aksumite megaliths. The year is 333, year of mercy, Ametemeret, as the new priesthood would have it. The mint of the kingdom of Aksum has begun to stamp its coins with the cross. It is Elsepath himself who declared the spot he now lies in to be a promising one, a stone's throw from the temple where he led the purification lustrations for so long, no more. In those bygone days, the lords of the realm pressed to the temple of the moon, wrapped in snow-white cottonnades, their foreheads studded with gems. The highborn seemed to hover above the crowds, held back by the men-at-arms with their cudgels. On either side of this river of worshippers stand the priests and the novices of the faith, swaying to and fro like teff-stalks in the breeze. In the rear of the procession, the populace inches forward, mumbling ecstatic incantations. Here are the labourers, slaves, as well as freemen. They squeeze between the pyres on the temple foreground, stooping to rub hot ash onto their chests before proceeding in the direction of the stelae. Incense, cast into the smouldering fires by the handfuls, rises in billows of oily smoke in the torchlight. And then, to the boom of the drums, of the kaburo, and the ululations of women, from the depths of the Temple of the Moon, the Najashi's cortege emerges into the atrium. Najashi is enthroned atop El-Barak, his favourite elephant. Robed in purple brocades, Najashi's face is veiled by golden tassels, his glittering arms sheathed in webs of silk bejewelled with rubies. El-Barak, the lucky one, Elsepath was present when the young elephant was captured in the desert of Suakim, still a calf. Today his tusks are embellished by henna arabesques, and he is impervious. The king's podium seems to be afloat, as if levitating on the clouds of smoke and incense. Elsepath officiates the torobolium and anoints Najashi's brow with a touch of vermilion, as it is he, Elsepath, the haruspex, who thrusts his hands into the guts to read the coming year, and it is he, too, Elsepath, the all-powerful, who proclaims the auspicious times to cast seed, the ports of call for ambassadors. Should war be waged this year in the west, or, rather, should the troops sally forth to lay waste to the south? Yes, the omniscient one, the omnipotent, that is what they called him. And he who sees the east as well as the west, eye of the Najashi, today there is not even a house slave to chase the flies that alight at the corners of his mouth, for Elsepath saw nothing coming, not from the south and not from the north, no more than from the west, and not, especially, from the east, the provenance of the Red Sea caravans. And yet, so he should. Elsepath, abandoned as a babe in arms at the temple door, rapidly displayed preternatural skills. He studied all of the rites of the season of offerings, those for the rains, the short and the long, as well as the ceremonies to grace the growing seasons and hallow the armies. When he fulfilled his 11s, he was the first to offer himself up in living sacrifice, willingly shedding his virility, and to enter the priesthood of the moon. Elsepath was then consigned to the mountain Debredamo to polish his Greek and wrestle his serpent. One is to play a shadow game of snakes and ladders, and tickle the serpent while flying alongside him, without ever losing your senses, which is what transpired for his bosom companion, twinkle-toed Nejo, who quaffed his datura rather hastily before throwing himself from the top of the cliffs to land with a thud, all the while shouting, "I fly! At last I fly!" Elsepath cleared one by one all of the temple degrees, before reaching the Holy of Holies, which became a nursing thing to him, he who could not beget a child. When Frumentius appeared, rescued from the shore after a shipwreck, Elsepath was taken with love. He granted this slight child counsel, and even after the child persisted in his faith of the cross, a belief already present in small numbers in Aksum, when Elsepath was a novice among the Greeks. The Temple of the Moon is capacious and contains all, and even crosses, if you so choose, Elsepath loftily imparted to Frumentius. The latter smiled, all the while tracing the sign of his persuasion on his puny chest. This Frumentius was an eager pupil, and he reminded him of his own ardour, so that Elsepath revealed all to his diligent student. Elsepath taught him how to pick a golden nugget out of intestines, and the conjuring with fire and wind, how to shake a stick into a serpent, and how to make of coal a precious stone. All good tricks to befuddle commoners and princes alike. The city Aksum received ever more merchants, especially many of these Greeks, from the city they called Constantinople. In the end, it was like the story of the hyena that is convinced to enter the cooking pot when the water is stone cold. When it boils, it is too late. One day, Elsepath knew that the myrrh offerings were no longer forthcoming, and he saw that many followers of the moon were blessing the cross. Then came an embassy from the city of the Greeks, for they wanted Najashi to go to war with a Jewish despot in Arabia. Frumentius was Turguman in this meeting, and, after the event, a procession paraded through town and proclamation was made that the temple would henceforth be of the cross. On this same day, the silver moons were wrenched out from the stelae, of this very stela in the shade of which Elsepath lies in the dusk of his life. The cross possesses the artifice which subverts the subterfuges, says Frumentius, while refusing to have his mentor chased from the temple steps. Elsepath begs for his sustenance. He is fed, yet people look askance when he uses the foregone formula of acceptance. Later they will simply laugh, and Elsepath knows, for is he not the omniscient, that when his body enters the lunar fields, it is all of his knowledge which shall slide away with him forevermore.